On va y aller.
Alors, bonsoir tout le monde. On va commencer. Alors ce soir, on est très heureux de recevoir dans la fondation, dans ce petit dôme de la Fondation Pavillon Sicli, l'architecte Maria Sommer. Alors Maria Sommer est associée du bureau Dorte Mandrup. C'est un bureau de 80 salariés qui est basé à Copenhague. C'est un bureau qui est principalement actif en Scandinavie, bien sûr, mais il est aussi actif partout ailleurs, là où il fait très chaud et là où il fait très froid. En fait, c'est un bureau qui est actif là où le territoire et son climat sont les protagonistes majeurs. Et à notre sens, leur travail, le travail donc de Maria Sommer, s'inscrit parfaitement dans le cycle Faire de cette année, par le soin apporté aux matériaux empruntés, mais aussi évidemment par leur mise en œuvre, mais bien sûr et surtout par cette quête qu'elles ont de produire une architecture climatique, une architecture respectueuse, mais avant tout une architecture puissante et belle. Donc c'est ça qu'on va voir ce soir. Merci beaucoup. So we are very happy to have you, and you can start with your nice English.
So, thank you for the invitation. In our work, we often use the phrase, context is queen. And we do that because context is something that is extremely important for our working method. When we talk about context, we don't only talk about context as being physical matters, such as climate or geography or materials, but also more immaterial matters such as culture or emotional narratives or individual or collective memories. And we strongly believe that no matter the place, there is always something that can be extracted from context. You can underline the significance of a place and add to this. And as architects, we should always have the aim to add meaning and not subtract. So whether we're working in a landscape or an urban environment, or whether the place is protected or not, we always try to find something in the place that can be enhanced through our architecture. So, I don't expect you to read all the words in this diagram, and probably you can't. but it shows some of the aspects that we can use when we work with the context, and we can use it for reading and analyzing and relating to different aspects. And it helps us to understand the setup that we have been given. In our projects, we always try to find, clarify, and communicate qualities or values that are in the place and that can be enhanced. So the context can inform the shape of a building, or it can influence the choice of materials. And this approach was actually sort of developed when we did some projects in very sensitive and fragile environments, where we really had to understand the place. But we have found that this is a way of working that can help us to give us a strong offset for all our work, no matter the place. So I'm going to show you 4 projects with 4 different contexts. First, we are going to see the Wattensee Center in Ribe, which is at the west coast of Denmark. And it's a visitor center that shows the life of migrating birds. Afterwards, we're going to Ilulissat in Greenland. And I'm going to show you the Icefjord Center, which is a visitor center that tells the story of the Icefjord of Ilulissat. And very importantly, it tells the story of climate change. Another Arctic place, but very different, is Andøya, north of Lofoten in Norway. This is a place where the whale is going to be built. And the whale is an experience center that will tell the story of whales and our relationship to them as humans. And finally, I'm going to show you the Craft College in Herning, Denmark, which is a building containing student housing and workshops. And it is created to strengthen the respect of craft traditions and create an inspiring place for young people to develop their skills and talent. So we'll start out in Denmark at the Wadden Sea, which is a building that was inaugurated in 2017. So the Wadden Sea is a large coastal area that stretches from Denmark down through Germany to Holland. And it's characterized by very shallow waters. So the area sort of changes between land and sea. And there is a very strong tide, which means that when the water retracts, the low tide leaves a very fertile and rich feeding ground for birds. And every year, fall and spring, the Wadden Sea is visited by 10 to 12 millions of migrating birds. And they're flying along what is known as the North Atlantic migration route. And they stop at the Wadden Sea to feed before they either go to Africa or Siberia. So this is an important part of the global ecosystem for these birds. And it's crucial for them to feed at this stop on their way to Africa or Siberia, and therefore it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And what you see here is actually a phenomenon known as the black sun, where lots of tourists come to see this because it's every year you can come and see this sort of formations where millions of starlings they fly in formations in the sky. So this area is also characterized by a very fragile coexistence between nature and people. And somehow in this area it's very present and it's very visible. When we started out, there was already a building at the site. It's a building from the 90s, and it was made like in the typology of a traditional Danish farmhouse. And so by reusing and transforming the existing building, we had the opportunity to reduce the carbon footprint of the new building. So we wanted to make a new building that embraces the old one and integrates the whole into the landscape. Yeah, the red dotted line indicates the existing building, and then you see the new building that embraces it. This area has lots of reeds, and the reeds are aligning all the small rivers and streams that are running towards the Wadden Sea. And reeds is a well-known building material that has been used since the Viking Age. So here you see a traditional farmhouse from the area, and it's been the reeds have been widely used to thatching roofs. So, as done in earlier times, we used the nearby harvested reeds, not only for the roof, but also for the facades of the new center. And we found this material very interesting, not just for historic reasons, but also because it really has a certain quality to it, because it's hand-shaped. And as it is hand-shaped, it almost has a sculptural quality like clay. And it creates beautiful surfaces, and there are no repeating patterns or division lines. The proximity to the sea means that the air in this area is very, very salty, so it's very harsh on most building materials. But the reeds are perfect for this climate because they have been naturally impregnated by the salt. And with the wind, they're kept dry and free of fungus. So the building is designed with using horizontal lines to reflect the sort of the horizontality of the landscape, but also so that the wind, because there's a very strong wind in this area, so the wind is sort of let over the building. Here you see how the roof and facade cantilevers above the entrance to create shelter. And this image shows the existing building that was clad with non-impregnated robinia wood, which will become gray in time and matches very well the reeds. So inside the building, or you can say the materiality and the tactility of the outside is changed inside to pure abstract space. And this is something that we decided to do in order to sort of keep the inside focused on the narrative and the exhibition. So this project it's all about raising awareness of sort of the sensitive coexistence between nature and humans in this area that has always been a condition here. And also to show how this local ecosystem is very connected to the global ecosystem. So next is the Icefjord Center in Greenland, and it's a building that was inaugurated in 2021. So Greenland is the largest island in the world, at least on Earth, and 80% of the surface of the country is covered by ice, and it's a country that only has 56,000 inhabitants. So you can say that the small population of Greenland probably has one of the lowest environmental footprint or environmental impacts on our planet. And yet it's one of the places in the world where climate change is most visible. This is Ilulissat, which is the second largest town in Greenland, and it has around 5,000 inhabitants. And even though the climate is truly extreme, people have been living here since the 17th century because of good fishing and hunting conditions. And today the main occupation is still fishing and hunting, but also tourism. The indigenous population of Greenland, the Greenlandic Inuits, migrated from Canada in the 12th century. And they were living nomadic lives, so they were moving summer and winter. And therefore there is no permanent building culture in Greenland. What you see here, the first buildings were brought to Greenland by Scandinavians. So the 55-kilometer long ice fjord is a very unique phenomenon, and it's UNESCO protected. This ice fjord sends off more ice every year than any other glacier in the world outside Antarctica. And for the last for the last 20 years, the speed has increased enormously. The retracting glacier visualizes in a very sort of non-deniable way the climate change, and a lot of world leaders are coming to see it here. So the purpose of the Ice Fjord Center is to exhibit and communicate the importance of ice and the consequences of climate change. The Ice Fjord Center is a result of an international competition that was hosted by the Greenlandic government together with a Danish philanthropic association called Realdania. When the site was visited for the first time, it was quite surprising because it was in the summer, and as you can see, and the surprising part was that you couldn't actually see the ice fjord from the site. Not until you were reaching the very far end of the site, from where you were able to see the ice fjord with the amazing number of icebergs packing in the fjord. So as a result of this, we decided to cantilever the building over the rock to create a dynamic movement through the exhibition, dramatically revealing the ice fjord as the visitor were moving through the building. So in wind tunnel test, we proved that this boomerang shape that you see to the right, the twisting of the facade and the lifted middle part made the building aerodynamic, keeping the facade free of snow. And just to explain the three diagrams, the thing is that whenever there's wind, the snow will disappear. So whenever there's shelter, that's where the snow will be. And with the boomerang shape, because we sort of lifted it up and kept it open at the center part, the snow can sort of move through. So the Greenlandic bedrock is considered to be the oldest bedrock on Earth. And there is a famous geologist named Minik Rosing who discovered in Greenland that the Earth is actually much older than formerly believed. So in this context of time, we wanted to underline how short the existence of human beings have been by creating a light building that barely touches the ground and almost resembles a skeleton of an animal slowly returning to nature. And with no permanent building culture, our inspiration was more about the landscape, the animals, the nomadic tools like the kayak or the tent. And every time we design buildings, we consider how to create meaningful public space and how to make it a natural part of the local community. So by designing the building as part of the existing path, making the roof part of the landscape, and the UNESCO trail that leads from the town out into to the ice fjord, we are creating a gateway between civilization and wilderness. And this way, both locals and tourists can enjoy the vast view before they enter the wilderness. So the curves of the roofs invite you to move up. And to enjoy the magnificent ice fjord. So in the Arctic, there is basically no locally sourced building materials. No forest, no timber, no steel, no concrete. This means that everything must be shipped. And the ice closes the Arctic Sea, leaving only a few months to deliver materials and to build before the snow covers the site. And machinery is also limited. So it is important to work as lightweight and small scale as possible. At first, we planned the building to be 100% timber construction, but after having done a life cycle analysis, we changed some of the construction materials into being partly steel, because the transportation of the volume and the shorter lifetime of the timber turned out to have a larger CO2 footprint. Here you see inside the building where timber is used to create these really sort of warm and nice surfaces. And this is the cafe where you have beautiful views to the surrounding landscape. The exhibition is designed by a company called Shack Studios, and it's an exhibition that responds to the environmental concerns of climate change by communicating past, present, and future conditions of the ice fjord. The building is also very much used as a cultural house for local community events. And the nature of this site creates quite spectacular and ever-changing setting. That's what When the sun comes back on the 12th of January, 12 o'clock, the local community, they meet every year to celebrate at the edge of the ice fjord. So hopefully the roof will become a natural point for this gathering. When the sun comes up and shows for only 40 minutes. So like the Warden Sea Center, this project is very much about raising awareness of a local condition that is closely linked to a global condition. And doing it in a way where we are creating meaningful space not only for visitors and tourists, but also for the local community. So now we're moving to the Whale. It's a project located in the northern part of Norway, and it is planned to be inaugurated in 2027. So Andøya, it's a small island north of Lofoten in the northern part of Norway, and it's located 300 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, so it's almost on the same latitude as Ilulissat in Greenland, but it has a completely different climate due to the Gulf Stream. It has very unique possibilities of whale watching, and so it is a very popular destination for tourists and researchers and scientists to come and see and study these amazing animals. This is Andenes, the main town on Andøya, and it's placed on the northernmost tip of the island, exposed to the northern Atlantic Sea and its weather. the silhouette of the town is quite horizontal, with the sea is very present everywhere, and the only sort of vertical point is the lighthouse. To the south of Andenes, there is beautiful mountains, and to the west, you have all of these small islands popping out of the sea. So the site is what you see here in the center of the image. The site is a peninsula, and it's close to the lighthouse and the harbor. And a coastal path that you see here in front leads local and tourists out here to enjoy the views. And the proximity to the harbor means that it's naturally connected to the whale watching tours. The new building is initiated by a local group of people to exhibit and communicate the knowledge of whales globally. The purpose is to protect these amazing creatures by creating understanding and knowledge about them. So the fact that the landscape above and below sea is one continuous surface, with the waterline being sort of the only division line between above and below, has inspired the design of the whale. The design derives from an idea of a thin crust that has been lifted to create a cavity underneath, and a soft hill above on the rocky shore. Due to its low height, the building is not competing with the lighthouse, but more complementing it. Conceptually, the lifted surface creates a shell that is resting on 3 points, creating 3 different views. The floor of the building is an abstraction of the topography of the site, and it makes the visitor move between different levels as if you were walking on the site. And it also creates a natural relation between the outside landscape and the indoor spaces. Then there is this sort of curved exhibition, the curved wall that creates these pockets where we have exhibition spaces. The overall vision for the whale is to celebrate whales and their relationship with humans through science and art. The exhibition content will be done by the exhibition design firm Ralph Appelbaum, and the aim is to create something that is not a history museum or an art gallery or a nature-based visitor center, but something new that takes the best of these places and makes something new of it. The exhibition will contain parts that are digital and media-based, like you see here, and parts with more sort of traditional objects, daylight, and views to the landscape. This is inside the cafe, where you will have sort of a natural proximity to nature. The facade is made up of curved glass panels, which distorts the view from some angles and creates an almost watery look. As with water, the glass will in some cases appear transparent, and in others blurry and opaque. By making the roof accessible to the public, we have added a new viewpoint and a place for gatherings and reflection. Here you can enjoy the midsummer nights or the northern lights, and of course the amazing view to the open sea. So like the former two projects, The Whale tells a story about a connection between local and global ecosystems. And it has been designed based on our analysis of this very specific context. And though it wasn't the idea at first, the building almost have the resemblance of a whale tail when the whale is about to dive into the deep. So, the last project I will show you is the Craft College in Herning, Denmark. And it's in the process of being built right now. So what you will see is a mix of model photos, renders, and building site photos. So this project is less about geography, climate, and ecosystems than the other three projects. But it's more about a cultural context in which it is created. In Denmark, like here in Switzerland, there is a long and proud tradition of craftsmanship. But unlike here in Switzerland, where you have a high percentage of young people seeking into education within the craft disciplines, we in Denmark are seeing a decline. And as a consequence, we will have a shortage of competent craftspeople in the future if this development is not changed. So that's the background for creating this college. And the aim is, of course, to attract more young people to be trained and educated within the craft professions by giving them a home that showcases materials, techniques, detailing that will inspire and give them sort of pride and joy in their choice of education. The site for this project is located on the outskirts of Herning, between a park area and a more sort of scattered and undefined industrial area. The design consists of a number of radial rooms, interior and exterior, that relates to a central garden and has sort of three large openings to the surroundings that connects to the outdoor spaces. And then there's a double curved timber structure that covers perimeter spaces. The new building creates a distinct architectural character in the landscape with its elliptical shape. And this elliptical shape connects the workshops, the living areas, and the common areas. We chose the elliptical shape because it opens up to all sides, not favoring any orientation, but it creates an equal relationship to the surrounding and for everyone to the central garden. The material approach in this project is very clear. It's about minimizing the number of materials and using them to their full potential. The building is meant to be a showcase of skill and technique and mastery. And every part of the building should make the inhabitants proud of their craft. So the timber constructions are left exposed, creating beautiful warm surfaces. And the roof is covered by natural slate, which has been a tradition in Denmark since the 16th century, and it has sort of shown that it has long durability. All of the radial walls of the building are made of recycled brick. And brick is also one of the most sort of applied and well-known building materials in Denmark. And like the slate, it is very robust and long-lasting. So what you see here in the construction phase is more or less the same one we'll see when the building is finished. Because there is no paint in the building. There is no elastic joint, and it's PVC free. So yeah, so this is a picture taken during early construction. And this is a more current picture of the same facade. The building itself should be a living teaching tool. So here you see the workshops in the construction phase. And it's important that when the students are walking around here working, that they should see and feel the materials, so they're sustainable, robust, and reliable materials that represents the different disciplines and traditions for the carpenters, the masons, the plumbers, the pavers, etc. Here you see some of the common spaces where they would have a common kitchen and a common living room. And this is one of the more private spaces. This is a typical housing unit that showcases the main materials and the main structure. And maybe I should explain that the unit has 2 different floor levels. So you move up when you go into the living area, and that's why the kitchen looks a little small in this picture. But most of the furniture is built in, and this is also a strategy to make it more sustainable, because by having built-in furniture, you reduce the waste of furniture coming in and out all the time. So this is a central garden where the students will be able to meet and have student gatherings. And as you can see, it's about to be furnished and planted and so on to be a nice green space. This is a render from the competition showing the facade as it also looks now with mainly timber. And it's also timber used for the roof. So you can say that that robustness and low carbon has been sort of a priority through this project all the time. Yeah. So the Craft College, it's really about finding pride and joy in craftsmanship. And it's about enhancing technique, skill, and precision, and showing it. And it's about embracing the honesty of materials, joints, and tectonics. So, although these 4 projects are very different and have very different context, they actually have been developed using the same material. No, not same material, but same approach and method. They have all found their shape and their narrative in our understanding of the existing context, and they represent a discovery, you could say, an exploring of context, whether it is geographical or related to climate or more related to narratives and culture. So yes, thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much. It was very inspiring. There are already one first question. Okay, so I can start with a comment. I don't have not really a question. I have a very strange feeling when you speak because I teach a lot architecture with a student. And as you want to find something very inspiring for them, I always think about totally crazy site and crazy program and crazy something, because I want to have them very free to two different problems with the normative things, the money thing or whatever. And I say, wow, it looks like to be a student project, because most of the time we can say to the student, yeah, you can do something like that in the real life. Nobody can do that, but let's think, let's feel that it will be possible. Even everybody will tell you it's impossible because it's too complicated to something. So it's really inspiring, because for one time we can really do as crazy as we can teach to the students. So I'm very impressed for that. But it's not a question. There is a question or not? Yes.
I have a question. Yeah, to rebound on what she said is, I'm really strived about the fact that you build in settings that are so off track, and you manage to have such a high degree of precision in construction, in structure, in finishing, that I was wondering, I mean, do you ship hundreds of workers there to do the job, or how do you actually do that? I mean...
Well, actually, I don't know if this project, it's built by local craftsmen. So and they were really good, basically. And somehow there is something about using local people to build stuff, because they tend to take a lot more pride in it and be more thorough when they have to meet everybody down in the shop the next day. And this one was also local thatchers, and they were very, very happy about this project, because they obviously thatching is a little bit of an old craftsmanship that is not always the most used one. So they were very keen when they saw this project. They were very keen to make it nice. But if I can just say one thing about what you said, I mean, it's also about having a very, very good relationship between client and the people building and the contractors and us. And sometimes sometimes you're so lucky as an architect to have really ambitious clients and good contractors. And I think that is also why it has become as it is.
I have another question that concerns the project and how you guys arrived to these shapes and to these kind of buildings. And I always interested in the power of geometry, the way you use geometry to give shape to these materials, these local materials. A few months ago, here in this same program of conferences, we had Marina Tabassum from Bangladesh that was talking about the way she works with the earth, with brick, with local wood too. And it's really interesting to see now like a sort of extreme landscape and extreme environment that is kind of the opposite of it. You see like these empty spaces, this sort of infinite horizontal environments. So, and it's always interesting to see the way you put together all these materials. And I think what is really smart in what you are showing is the way geometry is used to put all these shapes together, because you are not building like a copy or a sort of new version of traditional way of building. You use those materials, but in a sort of different way. So can you say, is there anything you could add about this process you use and how geometry works in the designing of your buildings?
Yeah, actually I think somehow that, again, coming back to the context, that somehow when you start out by having this idea about what kind of a place is this, or what is special here, then it becomes maybe easier, not easy, but easier to look at the shape and say, okay, does this fit into this narrative? Does this fit into this, thing we want to achieve? Because I think as architects, we all know this kind of idea of, making a lot of model, and you see all these shapes, and which one is the better one? And But I think somehow, like the one season is very much about this sort of low horizontal building. I mean, and it's also, in this case, I remember seeing, the first sketches and thinking, okay, so this is just a farmhouse. But then, suddenly the materiality comes on and it becomes something else. And so I think it's really about, and I think the idea with the materiality was there from the beginning. I mean, because it was like this idea. So what do we have in this area that is typical here? What do we have to, it was based on an analysis of this area. And again, you can say with the one project that I know very well is the whale, because I was doing the competition. And here it was really about, again, trying to say, okay, so in this landscape where you have all of these small islands, we don't really have mountains. It's not really, it's a flat area, but you have this little feeling of nature popping up like these small hills. Could we somehow use that in some kind of geometrical form? And then when we started working with that shape, it seemed right. And we didn't even think about the whale, like the sort of the typology of a whale or anything. But it was more just that somehow it seemed right in the context.
Hi. So it follows on from similar questions from before. So each of the buildings that you've shown have a very strong aesthetic, and it doesn't look like any of them have gone through any value engineering at all. It looks like you've been able to select the material and then run with it and go with your vision. Is that because you've won competitions, or as you say, you've been very lucky with the clients, or are the buildings that you have had to value engineer not included in the list? Or is the way that you sell your aesthetic, are you getting jobs that allow you to do that, or is it just luck? Because they look very beautiful, and it looks like there's no bad spot to any of the building. It looks very vision-led.
Well, I mean, for all of these 4 projects have been won in competitions. And I think all of the competitions has been about, architecture, mainly. So, I mean, we also do other kind of projects than these, but these 4 are made in competitions. And of course, I mean, I think when it comes to, for example, this one, I mean, it's very much also about the structure. It's about, and I think the engineer were very involved in the competition, because it was like, okay, so this is a light structure that needs to have this shape. How can that be done? So there was engineers involved.
I had a question about the whale. Maybe I missed something about the structure, but you said it was a shell. Is it a shell? A concrete shell like this one? Or maybe I missed something.
Well, actually, it was in the competition. We thought about it as being a shell like this one. But due to the fact that people need to walk on the roof, and also actually because of the extreme climate, it has been changed into, now it's a steel structure. And it has also the curved wall is load bearing, so no, it's not a structure like this.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Let's see if I can ask my question in English. No, what I think about your work is it's because everybody here is thinking, wow, it's beautiful, it's exceptional, and so on. But the thing is that you don't. It's also you're speaking about context, but all those contexts are exceptional. So it's not an ordinary context like your suburbs or whatever. And even maybe for the last project you don't speak so much about context, but it doesn't matter. The thing is, I think the most quality of it, it's rich, it's complex, but it's also really simple. I mean, you don't make too much. And it's important to say, because I can imagine it's a complex structure and everything, but at the same time there is one idea and it's clear and you don't chase several things at the same time. That's probably one of the best qualities. I mean, it's rich and simple at the same time, and I think that's something that convinced me quite a lot. It was not a question.
So no.
Maybe you can say something about this.
I can. It wasn't a question, so it isn't an answer. But I think it's true that this one, I mean, as I said, it's not about the geographical context, because this is not a place that is spectacular, I must say. Sorry, but it's not. But this one is actually, it is a cultural context, because it is this issue of sort of the decline in craftsmanship in Denmark is something that is actually being discussed a lot. I mean, politicians talk about it all the time. You know, how can we change this development? And so this was a foundation that had the idea to do 3 colleges in Denmark of this sort. So I mean, so although this one is not so much about the context, it starts out with the idea of, you know, okay, we need to do something that is showing craftsmanship and showing the materials, and therefore it needs to be somehow simple, because it's always, you know, if you do something very complex, it's harder to show all the detailing. So in that sense, I think there is some kind of connection.
Hello, thank you for the presentation, it's amazing. I have a question regarding the context where you work. Is it a choice or a preference to work generally in the Northern Europe, or it's just a result of consequences or coincidence, or maybe you have other projects that are abroad and I don't know them that well?
We have, actually we do competitions other places. We've done competitions in France, and we have projects right now in Belgium, and we also would like to have projects in Switzerland. So no, it's not a preference to be in Northern Europe. No, it's just the way it turned out for now. But hopefully we'll get other projects in. Well, as I say, we're doing something in Belgium now.
Yes, thank you also for a fantastic lecture. I just got a question about the continuity with other masters of architecture coming from your country. You know, I can name maybe Hudson as maybe the clearest reference, because this whole thing of the poetics of construction, you know, that Kenneth Frampton was talking about when he analyzed, you know, Hudson's work. And I just wanted to ask you whether there's something underlying in your work that can be linked to Hudson's work.
I think there is. I mean, in the sense that it's true that a lot of the Danish masters were about, you know, trying to keep it simple and to show the structure and so on. So yes, I think you're right about that. And I also think that Dorte has always been very inspired by the old Danish masters. So yeah, I definitely think so.
Thank you.
There is a last question. I think we can stop here because I really like your last sentences. Keep it simple. So thank you for your lecture. Thank you for everything.
Thank you very much.